hours, neighbors sat and watched as detectives took bags of evidence out of the house on the corner of Old Orchard Avenue.
This is going to be a multi-day process.
Police say a woman ran from the home, screaming for help on Friday morning.
It was readily apparent that she had been held against her will for a significant period of time.
She told police she was kidnapped. She also says there are more victims.
Disturbing story is brought to you from Excelsior Springs, Missouri. This is 30 miles northeast of Kansas City. A woman was held captive, arred, and assaulted for weeks in a Missouri home until she escaped last week. She was found wearing a metal collar and begging for help from neighbors. 39-year-old Timothy Haslett of Excelsior Springs, Missouri, was arrested Friday, October the 7th, 2022. He's being charged with first-degree R, aggravated SO, first-degree kidnapping, and second-degree assault. He is being held on a $500,000 bond.
She said she was very hungry, and my grandma could tell she was weak, and she didn't have a whole lot of clothes on. She said that she had a metal dog collar around her neck, and she could see the ligature marks on her wrist. There's a possibility that my grandma probably got her just in time.
This woman was found early Friday morning. She was wearing latex lingerie, a metal dog collar that even had a padlock on the front, and she had duct tape over her mouth. She told police that she had been picked up by Timothy in early September and then taken to his home and was being kept in a small room hidden in the basement. Police removed the lock from the collar, which they said was restricting her breathing. She pointed out the home that she was being held captive at as she was being driven to the hospital. She said that he kept her locked in these handcuffs on her wrist and ankles.
In it, the victim, a 22-year-old woman, told police Haslett picked her up on Prospect Avenue in Kansas City in early September and held her captive in a small room in his basement until she was finally able to escape last Friday when Haslett took his child to school. Police were there when he got back less than an hour later.
We established a perimeter around the house very quickly, and sure enough, the guy came back and we were able to take him into custody without incident.
Neighbors said that the weak and frail woman was going door to door, screaming, begging for help, saying that this captor would kill her if he knew that she had gotten out of the house where he had been holding her against her will. She told police that he whipped her and armed her frequently. She had noticeable injuries on her back. One of the neighbors, Sierra Tharp, told a reporter for KCTV5 News that the victim, who has not been publicly identified yet, showed up at her grandmother's house at 7:45 a.m. on Friday morning begging for help. She was terrified. She said that her grandmother heard this woman screaming and banging on her door. When her grandmother opened the door, the girl just started screaming, "You have to help me. I've been arred. I've been held captive. You have got to help me. If somebody doesn't let me in, he's going to find me and he's going to kill me." She said her grandmother immediately opened the door and let the girl in the house. And this dog collar that was on her neck was pretty tight. It was restricting her breathing. She had bound marks on her wrist. Her face had even been bound, but she had taken off this duct tape. She said that she had been being held and that the person that she was being held captive by just lived right up the street.
Continue to find more and more stuff. The dog that was out here earlier that many of you saw, that's a cadaver dog.
Police won't confirm the findings of that cadaver dog, but neighbors like Missy Hancock want answers to a lot of lingering questions.
I would like to know what's in the house, if there's any other victims, what's going on, what's going to happen with the house. Is the woman okay that was there this morning?
That woman, who fled the alleged kidnapping and sexual assault, is recovering at a local hospital. Missy told us that she had a few interactions with the man who lived at this house.
I mean, my neighbors are fabulous. I love them, but the dude across the street has always been a little sketchy. A little mountain manish, little to himself.
The neighbor could tell that the girl was very weak. She brought her inside and gave her some food and wrapped her in a blanket, waiting for the police to arrive. But the girl continued to say, "He killed my friends. They did not make it. He killed my friends." She just kept repeating this over and over.
She said once he left, she just flung that door open, let his dog out, and she took off. She said she was tied up in a basement. She said her heart told her, let her in. And so she brought her in, she wrapped her in a blanket that was sitting on the couch and grabbed her some food and water because she said she was pretty hungry. There's a possibility that my grandma probably got her just in time, got her in the house just in time. We looked at it as we helped one woman. And then when you think about it, she helped probably a lot of women. She had a metal collar around her neck, pretty tight. It was restricting her breathing. She had ligature marks she's seen on her wrists. Real disheveled. She could tell she was pretty weak. She brought her in, gave her some food, wrapped her in a blanket. She said, if somebody doesn't let me in, he's going to find me and he's going to kill me. I mean, he was not that far away. He was within a couple minutes away, taking his son to the school. She made the comment that he killed my friends, didn't make it. He killed my friends, they didn't make it. She just kept repeating it.
Another neighbor said that she was shocked when she saw this bruised, frail woman hunched over, almost like she was crawling up the steps of Sierra Thorpe's home.
She said it was obvious the woman had experienced trauma. She had marks on her wrist and face. Lisa called police.
Her face was bound that she had taken off. She had some kind of collar device on. She told me that she was being held and that the person she was being held by lived up the street.
After obtaining a search warrant at 4 p.m., police searched the Old Orchard Road home of Timothy Haslett. The Clay County Sheriff's Office said in their release at 9:15 p.m. that Haslett had been charged with first-degree R, first-degree kidnapping, second-degree assault, and aggravated SO. Detectives are investigating the victim's claims that other victims were allegedly involved.
She had made the comment about her friends, that they didn't make it, that he had killed them. The main thing to me is I'm really hoping that they find evidence about her friends. If anything, she can have closure about her friends and know that, you know, if something did happen, if she witnessed something with her friends, that they can figure it out. That way, you know, she can have closure and know that her friends had justice too.
We have no further victims that we are aware of at this specific moment in time. We are still processing the warrant, and that all is subject to change. So she made mention of other victims, but there's no signs of them at this time that we have found.
After Haslett's arrest, police have been carrying out large bags of evidence from the home. They've also used a cadaver dog to examine the yard and his truck.
I know that she's in a better place right now than she was.
I'm so glad that she made it out. So glad that she made it. And I hope that she can get the help she needs to deal with this. I'm so thankful that my house, you know, we were able to help.
And investigators say the woman reported to them that she did not know the man that was holding her against her will.
Like I've always said, know your neighbor. Even if you don't have like a personal relationship with your neighbor, always be aware, alert, and watching. This guy had a child in that home while he was holding this woman captive in the basement. Always know your surroundings. This is a developing story, and as more comes out about it, I will keep you updated. I hope there's no more victims. But for this girl to continuously say that he killed her friends, there has to be something to that. Maybe there's no evidence there. Did he do it somewhere else? As we learn more, I will bring you more. Thank you.
Screaming for help, banging on the door. The original call was that she had a rope around her neck. Officers located her at a residence down the street. A woman had taken her in and sheltered her until we could arrive. Once we made contact with her, it was readily evident that she was being held against her will at some point, and there was clear signs of that to the officers at the time. We then had her transported by ambulance to a local area hospital where she's receiving treatment. She's stable at this time. She made some statements to us, which led us to this residence here behind us. We then gathered a search warrant. We're in the process of executing that search warrant at this time. We have no further victims that we are aware of at this specific moment in time. We are still processing the warrant, and that all is subject to change. So she made mention of other victims, but there's no signs of them at this time that we have found. So while we work this scene and process through all of this, we are also trying to corroborate some of her story and make sure that if there is other victims that we try and reach out to them and or their families. So we're all in that process. This is still very much an active investigation. While we process that, I will try to relay as much information to you as I can. I'm sorry it took this long. We're not trying to keep any information from anybody. We just want to make sure that we respect the victims and make sure that all of their needs are met.
Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, this is Unjustified.